All right, guys, welcome to the Living Late podcast. This is our very first episode, so...
Very first one.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the very first episode of the Living Late podcast. So I've been wanting to do a podcast for quite a while. Pretty much, if you guys ever see me wearing earbuds in the shop, I'm almost always listening to a podcast. And so I've always had an interest in doing my own. So we're obviously going to have to work out the kinks as time goes on. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a learning experience, but you can see I've set up kind of a podcast set here in my office, and I'm going to try and take this seriously. And
we've been in a lot of podcasts, and it's been interesting to see some of the channels that have asked us to be on podcasts. We've been on some of their earliest ones and some of the latter ones, and it's amazing how much they've changed over the course of time. The preparedness that they have for the questions that they ask, the lighting, the sound, everything. And
yeah, so the intent here is to make this open to the members, the live recording of the episode, and then we'll post the recording onto the internet for everybody else. But you kind of get the perk of being a channel member. You get the perk of being able to ask questions live during these podcasts, and we're not going to stop all the time and answer the questions. We'll probably reserve a certain part of the podcast to go through all of your questions at once. But I kind of wanted to start this podcast off with kind of going through some of the comments and questions that we have gotten on the latest video. So, if you guys have been following the channel, we just started a pretty radical project. And we've gotten quite a few questions from that. So let's start off with summarizing the what we did on the most recent video. So on the most recent video, we just started a Hot V project. So I think a lot of you guys joined because of that. So thanks for that. But basically, we are taking an LS block and putting a set of LT heads on it. And because they changed the valve order on the heads, that effectively makes it a Hot V. Now, in the latest episode, we just revealed the exhaust manifold and one of the intake manifolds that we had built for the project. And a lot of people asked, what about equal length headers? Like, aren't you going to have to make all of the pipes equal lengths in order to get the sound that you're after? A lot of you probably noticed that they were not equal length. Some people were curious if they were. They were not. And the reason that I did that was because just ease of manufacturing. It's a lot of stuff to get into a tight location, and I was just trying to use the material that I had and build a pretty cool looking setup. So unfortunately, they are not equal length, but I attempted to try and make it somewhat close.
Yeah, eyeball equal.
Yeah. That was sort of the intent there. But since then, I guess I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. My brother has taken it upon himself.
Wait a minute. Are we going to be able to tell a lot of sneak peeks tonight or something?
Yeah, I think we can tell sneak peeks.
Okay, because I'm all excited about the future.
Yeah, I know.
All right, get back to your story.
So, my brother has taken it upon himself to lay out the header in CAD. That thing that I kind of said that I'm a little bit... it's not really my thing. Well, that's his thing. So he's laid out all of the pipes in CAD and has basically given me a instruction set to make an equal length header setup. So we're going to get it fired up on my header first, just to feel the project out and just to get it running. But in the future we'll do the sort of comparison of, okay, so you were a little lazy, kind of shot for equal length, but you didn't really do it 100%, like have marks on all the tubes to make sure they're all perfect versus actually true equal length header, and we can do a sound comparison and maybe even do a dyno comparison between the two, just for fun. So that is something we're willing to explore. Obviously that's going to affect the sound, but yeah, that was one of the common questions. Another one of the common questions I'm gonna look. Another question that a lot of people had was the turbo. So there were a lot of people that were saying, you're going to muddy the sound with the turbo. And I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think the speed of sound is so high that it's just going to go right through that turbine housing, and you're going to hear the sound that you want to hear.
Yeah.
You can tell a V8, a 6-cylinder, and a 4-cylinder from the exhaust note through the turbo, regardless. Now, a huge amount of the noise that we hear comes through the intake side, but ultimately it's going through the turbo also, mm-hmm. And I think that the noise will be there. Mm-hmm. I don't know on your videos which one of those cars had a turbo and which ones did not. But I would anticipate that you're going to hear a cool noise.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I had the 787B, which was not turbo. I had a Ferrari V12, that was not turbo. And what was the other one?
The Mustang.
Well, no, that one's not turbo either, but there was another one I had in there for the 3 Formula One examples. Or not Formula One, because 787B is not Formula One, but yeah. I'm trying to think. What was the other one?
Don't know, but if it doesn't make the noise you want, pull the turbo off and give everybody a blast.
Well, yeah, I think we're definitely going to fire it up without the turbo on and just kind of hear how it sounds. We might even dyno it without the turbo. We'll see what happens. But the whole reason for the turbo is because this thing is not going to run without a turbo. It's just not. It's going to suck. Those intake, or the new intake valves, which were the exhaust valves previously, they're just not going to work without some pressure behind them.
What? No 1.5-inch intake valves are going to flow?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So
you're making a tunnel ram?
What engine? Like, did the GM ever make a V8 engine with a 1.5-inch intake valve?
Oh, I'm sure they probably did.
Like a 267 or something?
No, 267 would have been a 172, I think.
Okay.
I think the smallest valve I remember on a V8 was a 160 something.
Okay.
But
made what, like 145 horsepower or something?
95 maybe. But the valve size and performance aren't. There are a lot of small valve, high horsepower engines out there. So it is not an absolute that you have to have the valve size to make the power. Now, boosting helps. We've had an opportunity to make a lot of power with small valves because we're blowing the air right past it. Mm-hmm. But back in the 80s, early 80s, I was running with some of the big dogs running 172 valves, and everybody kept pushing me, put 194s in, put 194s in. I put 194s in, and it was pig slow. Mm-hmm. But I had developed the port and the camshaft to work with the 172. So I'm a big fan of the smaller valve. Obviously, you need to pay closer attention to the lift and the duration with a smaller valve, because you still got to get the cross-sectional area just as in the hoop form, as opposed to the size of the diameter, the length of the hoop as opposed to the diameter of the hoop. And we all get fixated on lift and durability.
Duration.
lift and durability, and hence all of the OEMs have had relatively small cams. But with today's metallurgy and technology, the lifts continue to get greater and greater, and the big dogs are running 1-inch lift on their big blocks, and we're far from being able to run those kind of numbers. But I'm taking a long path here to answer your question. No, I can't think of anything. 172 was the most common small intake for a small block Chevy. I can't think of anything other than I remember reading of a 1.6 something on an engine that Chevrolet had, and I think the mere fact that the valve is so close to the cylinder is going to be a greater impedance than the valve size.
Yeah, because of shrouding the valve.
Yep. Yeah, I think that'll be a challenge, and all that goes away when you throw boost at it, and boost fixes most problems.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Where did we hear that before?
Steve Morrissey has a shirt that says "Boost fixes everything."
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I just, I'd like to make a decent amount of horsepower with the thing, and I just don't think it's going to run without boost. It's just, the only way to, satisfy everybody would be if we did, a centrifugal supercharger or a, it would I guess it would have to be a centrifugal. You're not going to do a Roots because you could, I guess, but
no.
We do dual M90s on the side.
No. This is hard enough on my head to watch you do this. It's funny. Am I supposed to look at that or look at you?
You can do both.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm so used to looking at the camera.
I'm not, so...
Yeah.
All right. Everybody can pick on me and make comments about that, too. It's funny. You took on this project, and, my first thoughts of it is, what is wrong with you? And I'm very grateful to see the response from the viewing crowd and how many likes and how many views the whole series is getting. It's up to episode 2, but it's interesting. I'm an old fart, and I'm looking for more traditional thought processes. So to look at it as a content creator point of view, that's something you're more comfortable doing. I'm thinking about putting a Hemi in something, and you're thinking about doing a hot V. So we have some very different trains of thought as we move forward, and I'm very proud of you pushing forward despite my skepticism, and you're doing great.
Yep. Well, I mean, you gotta think of things that people aren't thinking of, so...
You're not doing 8 single turbos on a V8, though.
Okay, somebody already did that.
Okay.
And it didn't work well.
Poor guy. That was a lot of work.
Alright, I see a few comments. I see a God is good. Yes, he is.
God is good.
We are doing well today. If you guys want to leave questions or anything like that in the comments, this is a members only stream, so there's not a lot of you in here. I didn't really do a very good job of telling you guys we were going to do this. I kind of told you 15 minutes before we started, so my bad.
Nah, it's our first one.
Yeah, we got to get started.
We got to get started, and today was the day.
Yep.
I came home, he had this look on his face. I was exhausted. I looked up. I could tell that he wanted to say something. He was like, we're going to do a live tonight, or a podcast tonight. And I was like, can I take a nap first?
Yeah. Well, you guys can see, I've tried to put in a little bit of effort here. I've put up sound deadening and that kind of stuff. This has been when did I do this? I don't know, a couple weeks ago. So I've been trying to gear up for this for a little while. So, trying to take it seriously. So.
Getting the nerve up has probably been the biggest thing.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest thing with the channel in general, but
everything.
Okay, another common question was heat and oil concern. I heard a couple people talk about like cooking the push rods. Yeah, I heard about like head warpage. There was a couple of people that talked about that. There was a couple of people that, I saw a bunch of people say like, are you going to cook the push rods out of it? I kind of doubt it.
Push rods, no. Heat is a concern. We've talked about that. We've got a couple strategies there on what to do there. Paying attention to the oil temperature is going to be a critical part of it. Run duration is going to be a critical part of this. Fuel choice is going to be a critical part of this. Any of you folks that have been around for a long time know that we approach things very conservatively. We don't break a lot of stuff. We catch things before they fail a lot of times because we're so focused on the data and making sure that we're not being reckless. When we do things and start sorting them out, almost everything we touch runs in the 8s. And while there's no plans to run the Hot V project into the 8s, we take all builds seriously, and this one will be taken seriously. Last thing we want to do is oil down a track and ruin everybody else's days, or create a situation where others could get hurt. So, from sailing a rod on a dyno to dropping oil on the track, those are things we just do not want to do. So we take things very seriously and take a very conservative approach.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of thinking, like, what do you think the biggest risks of the project are? Like, what do you think is at the greatest risk of failure?
I think we'll stick an intake valve because it'll overheat.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things we'll have to listen to the noise.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we have to replace intake valves. One of the things that we had talked about is, do we weld up a head and put a small intake valve in the thing? And we just got a whole big jump in folks commenting, I think.
Yep, there's quite a few. We'll address your comments. I'm not ignoring you guys. I am glancing over at the comments every once in a while, but I'd like to kind of like have like a member question section a little later on. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Maybe we'll do them a little more frequently.
Can you pull that up on your thing?
Let's
interject some of those so folks know we are actually live.
Yeah, we are actually live. This is not like, I realize you guys might be like, is this pre-recorded?
I've answered or asked this question 5 times and they haven't even looked at it.
Let me get this up. But yeah, I think the intake valve, that's where I'm concerned.
I'm very concerned about that. It's not sodium filled. It's not, it's set up for an intake.
Yep.
But if we can cool the combustion temperature with a fuel choice, we're going to be able to get more run duration out of it. I think we run it until things sound goofy, and then we let it cool down and we run it again.
Yep. Yeah, the first couple times we run it, it's probably going to be only run for like less than 5 minutes. It's going to be a very short duration type thing. It's somebody did send me a message. I think it was on Instagram. They said that they found a big block Chevy valve that's the same diameter and the same stem that we might be able to retrofit. But I would imagine the stem is probably, I don't even know what the stem length on them is, but
big by large.
Yeah, they're just big. Yeah. So, odd cars and bad decisions. I like your username. He says dual M90s for the win. Yeah. That would be cool. But, yeah. Somebody else says, I like your content due to you being down to earth. Also, you're trying things, don't see a lot of. Thanks. Yeah, I like doing stuff that nobody else does just because it's more interesting. It's also, there's a certain thing to be said about performing well on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I was raised in a household where we built lots of weird projects. You know, we used to do this grassroots motorsports challenge thing, and you know, to me, like, if you're doing something that's the same on another project, like, it just gets boring. It's like I want to do as much different on the next project as possible. And you know, I hear a lot of people, like, one of the comments somebody left on the Powerglide for like the Talon, I saw somebody leave a comment that said, you know, why would you go with a Powerglide? Why would you not stick with the 4L80 Turbo 400 8 HP? That way your parts and, you know, all your knowledge base that you've built up can be transferred from project to project to project. You know, why would you go to a Powerglide and kind of throw that all out the window? And, you know, for me, it's just I like to try new things. I feel like it's a better way to learn. Sometimes you learn something from a new thing that you can apply to the other things. And
well, that car is going to be raced hopefully a lot. And one of the things that was our consideration is the size of the car and how small it is. You know, we're not small people. Mm-hmm. And if you're not comfortable driving the car, you're not going to want to drive the car. And we wanted to get as much room in that car for the driver to make sure it's comfortable. And, you know, we will build other cars, but the choice for that car was make everything as light as possible, make everything as simple as possible. Neither of us have gone sevens. Our ultimate goal is to try and make that thing run consistent sevens. We know we can get there with the Powerglide. We've seen the torque curve that the Nissan engine makes, so having less first gear ratio in that car is going to work out well in that we don't need as much because the torque curve will carry us forward to the point where we can shift and carry the top end, and it's less busyness inside. We're not going for a 7.0, we're going for a 790. We're not trying to change the world, we're trying to change our world. And as we get that car sorted out, you know, in 5 years you're going to see the car with something else under the hood. We are constantly evolving, constantly revolving different things, and if we determine that the best way to move forward with performance on that is with more gears, we'll decide that and make those changes. We did build the cross member in a way that we could put a Turbo 400 in, but the Powerglide made the most sense for the short term build that we're doing and our goals for that car this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah. All right. Internal welding. A lot of people left comments about how the heck are you going to weld that thing, the manifold on the Hot V. Yeah, it's something where you got to weld each tube individually, and then you need to assemble it. And welding the collector on is a bit of a it takes a bit of planning, I'll say.
There has to be a good strategy.
Yeah. So what we plan to do is we plan to get as much of the welding with one or two of the tubes out of the picture, and then we'll put the last two tubes into them, and then we might cut a window into the tubes where you can't see it, and then weld it from the inside. You know, stick the torch into the tube and weld it from the inside, and then
weld the window shut.
Yeah, and then weld the window shut. So we've done that in the past quite a few times, and you know, it's just common strategy. You kind of put the little window somewhere where people can't see it, and you know, we might show it on video, but you know, other than that, well, you know, I might show it as like here's a cool, or here's the way we did this.
Yeah,
and then,
members only. Go ahead,
yeah, right.
tease them all.
Yeah, that's how we intend to do that. I saw a couple people make comments about back purging. With the thicker material, I've seen that it doesn't really... so I guess I should explain what back purging is. So basically when you're welding, the way that welding works is you have a diffuser or a cone that distributes inert gas over the weld and makes it so that when you strike your arc, there's no oxygen present to oxidize, because when you get the metal really hot, it oxidizes super easily, and that just doesn't make for a strong or good-looking weld. So, you have gas on the outside of the tube, but what back purging is you fill the tube full of inert gas, and then you have inert gas on the inside and the outside, and it just makes for a cleaner weld on the inside. Stainless is known to do something called crystalling, and on the inside of the tube it'll make these like little shards or crystals, and apparently it makes the weld weaker, or
the crack propagation goes up through the crystals, and eventually the headers will fail.
Yeah.
All of our performance stuff is all internally purged and back purged, and a lot of effort goes into making sure that we don't have that potential defect, because the higher performance cars, ultimately they're going to get leaned out to the point where we're really putting a lot of stress on the metals. On that's schedule...
I think it's schedule
20.
40. It might be 20. I don't know.
I think it's scheduled
Which
20.
one's thicker?
40's
I think
thicker.
it's the thinner
40's heavy.
It's probably
20 is about like that.
Yeah, it's probably 20. Yeah.
That it looks like schedule 20.
It's probably 20.
It's not garbage.
Yeah.
But
it's thick enough. Like with the thicker stuff, I've noticed that it doesn't really crystal like at all. It'll kind of... You'll see like a sort of a haze of on the inside of where you can see that it was oxidizing, but it doesn't crystal. And
there's so much metal there that even a micro crack is not going to be catastrophic, versus 049 wall or some of the thin stuff like 035 wall. You start cracking that, and a 15 thousandths crack, and you're a third of the way through. So you can't think of everything the same way.
Yep. When we do the equal length header, we'll definitely back purge those.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this go around, I just was
build it with a hammer.
Maybe I was being lazy.
Build it with a hammer.
Yeah. So that's that. Okay. All right. I need to scroll this down so I can see my other questions. Okay. There were a couple people that criticized the transmission choice. They said that, why would you go with Paraglide? You're going for this beautiful noise. Why would you make it so there's only 2 gears to go through to listen to it? And I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Okay, so I'm going to have you qualify that comment. We're back on the Supra. The last time we talked about the Paraglide, we were talking about the Talon.
Yes. So I'm talking about the Supra. Like
Sorry
the Talon,
about that, buddy.
Yeah, the Talon, we're going for utter, absolute lightness and, creature comfort and all that stuff. And those VKs make so much torque. Like, it's going to do just fine. Whereas this one, it should make a decent amount of torque. So, like, as far as performance...
You're fooling yourself.
I mean, it's going to be a small port, so it's going to have a lot of velocity, so it's probably going to favor a low-end torque production, I would think.
Well, yeah, it's just not going to make a lot of it.
Yeah, but, like, the curve is going to be favored towards the bottom a lot.
Absolutely.
So, you just fix it with boost. And but
just admit it. You didn't want to cut the transmission tunnel
that's
out
where
and
I'm
rebuild
going.
a whole nother car.
Yeah, I was going through performance, and then I was going to talk about, the...
Blah, blah, blah performance. You just want to build the car.
So, yeah, the problem with those Mark III Supras is there is not enough room in those cars. I don't really, people, a few people left comments about them being, like, kind of like a sleeper choice, or like a unloved project, or a what was the wording?
They were a hero car back when I was a kid.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they talked about it as being like an unsung hero or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, they don't have a ton of room to like do stuff in them.
They were
like,
built for a manual transmission.
Yeah.
And then instead of putting a turbo 400 in, we're putting a Powerglide in so that it fits in the hull.
Yeah, I pounded the crap out of that transmission tunnel just to get that Powerglide to fix. Like you would have to cut the entire transmission tunnel out of the car to fit like a turbo 400, or ideally I would love to put an 8 HP in it, because then you could really get to hear the exhaust going through lots of gears. But it just that would require quite a bit of work, which maybe someday, we'll see. But for the first go around, I just wanted to get the thing together, and let's figure out if this is going to be something that drops valves constantly, or has issues like that before we invest in doing stuff like that. So that's kind of why I decided to go with the Powerglide. That, and they're cheap, reliable, and
we had one.
We have multiple.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we got a half a pickup truck full of them coming towards us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have lots of spares. So to that other guy's comment about not having spares or whatever, All right. Artistic display, minifans. Okay, so a lot of people apparently left comments about cutting a larger hole in the hood to show off the headers more.
Not yet.
Yeah. I kind of like it the way that it is. I kind of like the really neat tuck, like you just see a couple pipes sticking out, but I've always been more of a fan of like sleeper type projects anyways, so...
Well, it almost forces you to take a second look.
Yeah. Well, we were originally talking about really going crazy and putting the turbo like way up above the engine.
Cletus-fied.
Do Cletus style. Just because that would really I can just see I could have envisioned the comments of like, this thing drives by and then like, did you see the Supra with the turbo sticking through the hood? And then somebody's like, okay, yeah, so somebody was being obnoxious, they stuck a turbo through the hood. And they're like, no. Like the pipes are coming out the middle of the end, like they're coming out the intake. Like I could just see somebody like telling their buddy like, look at that. So,
Rotson-esque.
But I kind of like going with a little more subtlety, I guess. But I guess for YouTube it probably would be better to be a little more flamboyant. But
it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. So. All right, next up, all right, somebody suggested, or people were suggesting, going with a water pump from a Silverado, apparently. I'm not really sure.
That will fit.
Yeah, maybe there's like an electric water pump. They were saying going with an electric water pump, maybe like a higher flow.
I wonder if they were thinking of an LT truck pump, because they're offset to the side.
Yeah, but like I don't know how that would be an advantage over the LS. Yeah, but yeah. There you go. So Matt Decker said that with the Glide you can listen to the engine sing longer.
There you
go.
He's singing our tune.
Yep. Odd Cars and Bad Decisions says, I subscribed because you were doing something new. When the going gets weird, the weird gets going. There you go. Jeremiah Johnson said, can't wait to hear it running. Me too. Them Dang Rocks says, 871 on the biggest tunnel ram. It's not biggest tunnel ram ever built, sticking out of the hood. Who needs to see to drive? There you go. I like it. All right. A lot of people were wondering how long it was going to take before we were going to have this thing running. Well, I'd like to have it running. I'd love to have it running next week, but I don't know if that's going to be possible.
No. we need to slow down just a bit. Do you want to tell them about what happened today?
Yeah, I guess we can. Yeah, so.
And if this is not the right time, we'll share it with everybody next week. We're going to do this. Going to try and do this weekly.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah. I should probably tell you guys that. We'd like to start doing this weekly. Yeah. But yeah, let's hold off on that for now.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
We got great news coming,
Yeah.
and it's going to impact the answer to that question, and that is that it may make more sense to slow down one extra week and fire it up 3 weeks from now instead of 2 weeks from now, because we need to represent those who support us.
Yep. Well, I'd say before the end of this month, I would hope we would have it running.
Yeah, that should be. It won't be driving, but it should be running.
No, but yeah,
be able to make all kinds of cool, goofy noises.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and then immediately drop a valve, right?
Yeah. At least wait till we're on the dyno, so you got something to put on a video.
Yeah, we'll see.
Putting it in I blew it up sitting in the garage. Is not a cool video.
Just sitting there, bang. Yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say?
So, any live questions?
So far, no. But
Okay.
I have more questions from the comments. Parts availability. Some viewers are asking. Some people were asking if we plan to make the files for the adapters available. Not yet. We'll see. I'd like to get it working first before we discuss that. Maybe we'll start selling the parts or whatever. But I'm not gonna put out something until we test it.
Well, not only that, but we need to take the opportunity to get it out in the public and let people see it and enjoy the fact that so much effort has gone into it. People are starting to really pay attention to this build. And, we don't know if this is going to lead to an invite to LS Fest or something of that sort. And if it does, there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes into every event that we go to on the road. If we go to LS Fest, I'll have to haul the car over there, get everything prepared. Calvin's actually participating in a wedding ceremony that his best friend's getting married, and he has to go there, so he would probably have to fly out to meet us. And, those are all, real life challenges that we all face anytime we need to take time off work to go to the events to, participating in the lives of folks that we care about. We got to jump through hoops. So, that said, if we do get invited to LS Fest to display the car or whatever, we want to take advantage of the opportunity of the freak show being watched by a lot of folks. And some of those parts, if they become available, it would be after an event like that.
Yep. So, yeah, we frequently get questions about like the North Star intake that I designed and had made, and I'm kind of in the same boat with that one where it's like I'd kind of like to get it working first, like, and then we can talk about like making available. Unfortunately, that one has taken a little longer than I wanted it to, but yeah, my bad.
No, it's up until 2 months ago, having a full-time job and working a full-time job after your full-time job has been the pace that we've been running. You've been working a full-time job and working out there. I've worked a full-time job, and I feel very good about what we've provided and accomplished, and we've had a lot of success, and going to the next level is something that I think everybody has appreciated seeing. They're watching us grow right in front of them. This has been a lot of fun doing things as a family and doing weird and freaky type things has been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Yep. Well, I have a list of questions that I literally hopped on to a Claude AI app thing that I have, and I asked, what are good podcast discussion questions? So do you have anything you want to talk about, or
no? But I feel like I'm being set up to be asked questions.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. This is not rehearsed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Or should I ask you the questions?
I mean, I feel like we both could discuss them.
Okay.
Okay. Turbo sizing myths. Why bigger isn't always better. That's what it said.
Because it takes forever to spool them up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're carrying the weight down the track.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't flow the air to warrant the horsepower gain.
Yep. But there's always a trade-off. There's, a bigger turbo. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people get turbo sizing wrong, where they either put something way too small on, or they put something, I don't know. I almost feel like I feel like I'm in the opposite boat, where I almost feel like you can't go too big. Like, yeah, sure, there's a weight thing, but like, I feel like, getting the thing to spool is definitely a challenge.
Well, you definitely can go too big, because if you can't get the RPMs up, you can't get the pressure ratios.
And there's, Steve Morris on his station wagon, I think he's running dual 103 millimeter compressors.
He's thinking 4,500 horsepower.
Right, but he has issues where he actually surges the compressor when he's trying to build boost on the trans brake, because they're too big.
Yeah, that's because it's running near the surge line and not going across the flow.
He'll vent some of the pressure to get it into a better spot on the compressor map so that it doesn't surge, and then shuts it once he lets off the button. I guess there is for that. There's definitely but like I watched Rob Dahm, his latest video, and he was talking about his Pikes Peak car, and he's not really turbo limited on the car, but he's definitely trying to like spool the thing coming out of the corner as quickly as possible. And he's talking about like 3-to-1 pressure ratios, drive ratios, and he's just like,
yikes,
talking about it like, you just have to, and it's like, dang. So
for response, high pressure ratios is not an issue. For drag cars, you've got to kind of change your thought process, because you're hung in a spot for so long. And yes, Pikes Peak's got some long runs to it, but coming out of the corner is a big issue. And my guess, I haven't talked to him, I haven't watched his videos on it, the higher you go in altitude, the harder it's going to be to get air to compress. So I bet that his drive ratios go down the higher he goes up in elevation. So he may have a 3-to-1 at the bottom of the mountain and a 2-to-1 by the top of the mountain.
Because he in his latest video, it's actually really, really cool. He's doing, so how there's dual scroll turbos. He's doing a triple scroll, and he's doing they're like coming in, and like they're getting one part here, it's like the dual entry ones that where it comes in and there's two of them, but he's doing a 3-1, and they're all coming in on the same side, but they're hitting it at different spots, and it's like he's like inventing a new turbine housing. It's like, I can't wait to see how it performs, because it's crazy. Like it's art, like, and he's trying to like make it so, because it's a 3-rotor, so he's trying to set it up so that it has equal lengths, taking into account the additional length of the one that has to take the longer distance, and he's trying to make everything equal length coming into that turbine housing, and it's, he's having it metal 3D printed, and he's cool. Trying to get the larger turbo because he knows he has a drive ratio problem, but still be able to spool it.
Right. So that's the small engine. He would be better if he would probably compound it.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know how much boost he's running on that. He's probably, yeah, probably. Which I know a lot of the guys at Pikes Peak, they'll end up compound turbo. Like
and
the
see,
K24.
that makes sense to me because the higher you go in altitude, you're going to really struggle to get that thing to recover.
Yeah.
At the top of the hill.
Yeah, but for like the stuff that we do, I feel like, my Camaro, it takes a little while for it to spool. It's not that bad. With the 1.0 housing, it's not too bad. Like your Camaro is also pretty slow, but like, I don't know. I feel like I'd almost rather err on the side of a little bit too big and then try to figure out how to get it to spool.
Well, yeah, for now, that works. But if we got into a regular race series where they're paying more attention to the clock of when you stage and that kind of thing, we would have to adjust our program. Right now, doing mainly drag and drives and just test and tune, Pro Squirrel test and tune, we can get away with a little bit longer duration. But if we got into Yellow Bullet or something like that, they would probably frown upon some of our antics that we're doing.
Yeah, I did feel bad for that guy that I staged next to at Maple Grove, because like he was, I mean, he kind of did it to himself.
He did it to himself.
Like I did like feel a little bad that it took me so long to get in. Like I was trying to get in as quickly as I could, but like, you know, my bump was not set up to bump in second gear. I didn't know I was in second gear. I mean, that was the actual problem, but you know, he was just on the chip, just bang, 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 shooting all kinds of fireballs, and but yeah, I don't know. I just like having low back pressure, and, you know. I mean, somebody, Jeremiah Johnson, he said when trying to size a turbo for a flat six Subaru Legacy, being on the bigger size helps save the rods and transmission by limiting the torque.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, you get the RPMs up and you get out of that time in the bottom of the RPM range where you're sitting there for so long that you start bending your rods and they deflect further.
Yep.
The higher you go in the RPMs, the less time it has to buckle or offset, so the thing stays alive by putting all of your output in the top end of the RPM range.
Yeah, like on the Fiat, we built a Fiat with a 4200 and we put a 6262 turbo on it. And that thing would make 19 pounds of boost before your foot hit the floor on the dyno. So, you know, you can imagine the torque curve on that. Definitely made some torque. But, you know, you also run out of flow when you do that. So, like,
Yep.
I don't know, I guess there's a balance. There's definitely, I mean, obviously there's a balance. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy with how the red car is performing. It's, it is a little laggy, but, like, if you look at, like, all the horsepower per pound and, like, you know, how much power it's making on such little boost and the outlet temps and all that stuff, like, it's doing really well. So.
I think it's got more to do with the header than anything.
Okay, I just came up with a question. So, Old Man Talker says, Dom has some interesting projects. That tiny one rotor in the MX-5 is crazy compact. Okay, so my question is, and you can maybe.
Now, is Old Man Talker the question to ask her, or is the Old Man Talker a reference towards me?
Old Man Tater is sorry, I got his username wrong.
Okay.
But my question is, why do you not like rotaries?
You know, back when they were first coming out, they ruined a lot of people's weekends. They were obnoxiously loud. They were constantly braking. They were constantly causing delays at the events. Truth be known, I like anything mechanical, and I like anything that people are doing that gets them off the couch and out into the shop, out into the race world. I'll watch two guys race a bicycle down a track and cheer because they're not wasting their lives sitting on a couch.
Yeah, maybe not like it's the wrong word. I'm just...
Well, I understand where we're going with this. I think I understand where we're going with this. Ultimately, those influences from back then are why I pick on you about it, and will continue to do so. I'm not going to change that stance. But I think it's a great thing for somebody else. I have no desire to go there. I am excited about our future. We've got so many projects planned that excite me. That throwing that other thing into the mix is, one, going to be a distraction, and two, not allow us to build upon where we're going with what we've got. Between rear ends, transmissions, and engines, we have a lot of cross learning that we apply that allow us to get to where we're going fast. And I'm very humbled and very honored by the fact that so many people come up to us and say, you guys can make anything go 8s.
Yep.
We go to PRI, we go out in public, we go to these different races, and people out of the clear blue have had this consistent message of they're blown away how we can take anything and do anything with it. That accomplishment that we had with the 5-cylinder. Put that car together in 9 days, took it to the track, and on the 4th pass it ran 8s. Those are the kind of things that I think the viewing public really appreciates. That, we're doing it, but we're not being helter-skelter about it. We're not being reckless about it. We're taking this methodical approach, looking at things, looking at the data, making adjustments, and executing. Tying that all the way back to the rotary, we started 0 there. And until we get all the check marks marked off of, we want to get back to land speed racing. Everybody who's watched the videos close has seen the 8-1. We want to do a Hemi. We want to do an LT project. We want to do a whole host of things that build upon themselves without this potential offshoot taking us off the reservation far enough that we would not get the volume out that we want to get out.
Well, that's not really what I was suggesting. I was more of like, I was expecting you to say because they're so loud, but
well, and that was the first thing that I brought up in it. So if I'm talking too much, get to the next question, old man.
Fine. I just, I wasn't really coming at it from a like, why do you not want to do? It was more of like, what don't Because to me,
the
I
noise
think they're
is obnoxious.
Yeah.
Well, they are fascinating. And the reliability has gotten to the point today where it's something that I would take a second look at. But when you go back in time to the 70s and the 80s, they were so obnoxious.
No, it's like the amount of stuff that they have to do to them today to make them work. Is, it's awe-inspiring. Like, it's insane the amount of effort people put into these things to make them work. But I think it's really cool that they do it. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people that could say the same thing about some of the stuff that we do.
Look at that dumb old man in his big block. Well, don't you know you could... All right, what's the next question?
About the 4200, but there might be a few people that are like, "Why are you putting in all that work for that stupid 6-cylinder?" But all right,
next dumb question.
How do you actually read the boost to back pressure relationship, or how what's your opinion on that?
My opinion is that we're too conservative. I'm okay with a higher pressure ratio than you are. I know that to get the ultimate numbers, you want that number as low as possible. I'm comfortable with a higher ratio number because we have to perform at the track too, and I do not like the long load time. I love superchargers. I love being able to hit the lights, hit the button, and drop my foot on the floor, and when the lights come down, I let it go. I hate pull into the first, hit the trans brake, bump in, and because one, I feel as though it's impacting my competitor's day, but it's also not natural. As I get more passes on, the way you set the yellow car up, and the last time that we went racing, I was very comfortable because I was able to bump in less than, I think it was, three and a half seconds, and I'm much more comfortable with that. When we sized the turbos to be a bit smaller, like what was on the Volvo was one of the most fun cars to drive because I could pull up there, foot brake the car, bump the brake off, drop it. That car spooled and was on the two-step, I'm going to say like 1 second to 1.5 seconds. It was one...
because we weren't even really, we weren't... So, normally when you hit the gas, when you're, foot braking the car, you may get a certain amount of RPM to start, and then as it builds boost, it will climb to a higher RPM, and you can get a little more boost out of it. With that car, we didn't even... It was literally whatever the RPM it stalled to when you first hit the pedal with zero boost was what we were setting the two-step to, because we hadn't even really started to get after the 60 foot on that thing.
And it's still 130
something, yeah.
And, it's unfortunate what happened. We learned a lot from it. But the closest thing to driving that has been the Fairmont. The Fairmont, as quick as we pull in, you hit the gas, you hit the brake, hit the pedal, and you just barely have to let off the brake. It makes enough torque. As soon as the thing moves forward, you floor it, and the thing's already on the two-step. That thing is a fun car to drive.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's somebody that, Brad, he messaged me the one day, and he's like, you have, I'm pretty sure we have less displacement, and we're leaving on way less boost than him, and we're cutting a way better 60 foot than him.
Oh, that Fairmont's so cool because it
leaving on 2 pounds of boost,
foot brake and 2 pounds of boost, 130, 160 foot. It's like, and not even using the trans brake. The car's got a trans brake, and we don't even use it. We're just using the foot brake, and at 130, 160 foots.
Yeah,
that car's fun. That's been. I would love if all our turbos did that. I'd be a lot happier. Now that one's got a low pressure ratio, but the engine just makes so much torque that it's able to compensate for it. And I'd love to have the Camaro do it, that as fast as I go in, I can be on a button and not be on boost, and we could really start chasing some numbers.
Yeah, I wish we had the opportunity to run intake VVT on more of our stuff, because I feel like you could get the best of both worlds with that.
And that may be the big move forward for us. The Hemi that we're going to do at some point. Can I tell everybody about that?
Okay.
I'm telling you,
I know
I'm losing my mind. We got a Hemi. And we're going to have a project, and we're going to share it with everybody towards the end of the year. But it's got a very specific goal in mind. And it's been something that we've been wanting to do. We've been talking about doing a Hemi project for 2 years now?
We've had one for
2 years.
Yeah.
And
few of you have seen it in the background and pointed it out. So,
but it's as we get closer, one, Calvin's putting out more that he's doing this full time. He's able to invest the additional time that had been going to full-time employment to his new full-time employment. And, in less than 2 years, I plan to be retired, and we're really going to be able to put a lot of projects together. But for the short term, we still want to realize a bunch of goals. I want to put this Hemi project together. We were actually going to focus on a 4-cylinder project, but we're going to take a different path with that and try and get back to land speed racing. Many of you who have watched the channel for a while know that, I have a love affair with the land speed racing, and we want to get a package going there. So what is happening is we're doing a shell game with a lot of the parts to make it available. And initially we were going to do the 4-cylinder project in the car that we're wanting to put together, and Calvin mentioned that he wanted to get back to the 8HP, and I mentioned that I wanted to get back to the Hemi, and it's like, okay, well, these things came bolted together from the factory. Do we get 2 check marks on the page faster by combining our efforts into a single project? And ultimately we landed on that. So that said, as we get closer to the end of the year, you'll see the introduction of that project, and we're really excited about that because we're getting some neat ideas put together. We want to reach out to some folks that can help identify the right parts package, because as we move forward with this, we'd like to get that to a drag and drive sooner than later.
Yep. All right, we got some questions.
All right.
I don't know how to pronounce Eteen Rev or Etenev 12. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Hi guys, I'm planning on running a GMC Canyon 3.5 with a manual all-wheel drive drivetrain to convert it to rear-wheel drive and put it in a Miata or a Fox body. Is the all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive conversion possible with the AR5? Yes. Look up FabBot. I believe they sell a tail housing that will allow you to convert your full four-wheel drive AR5 to a two-wheel drive. We don't have rear-wheel drive Canyons or Colorados in Canada. Really? I didn't know that. Well, yeah, look up FabBot. They helped us out with some parts on my Fairmont build, so some good folks over there. Old Man Tater says, you guys put the work in, get science experience behind it, not just slap it together and throw boost at it. That's why I'm a fan. Well, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that.
He also says, piggybacking off of what E-Teen12's question, would you ever consider a horizontally opposed build for fun?
Yes.
Horizontally opposed.
Yeah,
oh, you mean like a boxer? Okay. Yeah. I mean, they seem to have a few issues, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe someday. The flat sixes are definitely cool. I really like the way that they sound, so I would definitely consider it. Old Man Tater also asks, what class/group are you looking at for land speed racing? No worries if it's a secret for now.
We have 18 records that we have set in gas altered and gas coupe. We will definitely get back into that class at the right time. We've got a Camaro with an LS that's going to participate in that, and super excited about that. We've got a lot of the parts for that. It's just a matter of getting it put together, and I would anticipate that project will be a mid-27 project. In the short term, the Datsun is sitting, and we want to get that car to the track. It was originally stretched out so that it could become a land speed car. Calvin's got another transmission project that he wants to do. I love naturally aspirated. We've got some parts to put together. Do we fully share that one?
Literally like a couple minutes ago, I got some bad news on that one. So we might have to do. We're still going to do it, but we're not going to be able to work with some of the folks that I was hoping to. So
bummer.
But we're still going to do that project, and we're just going to have to do it our way instead of which unfortunately with YouTube sometimes some collaboration doesn't work out.
Gotta roll with the punches.
Which I'm fine. That's a topic I wanted to address at some point. But you finish your land speed.
Well, modified sport. It won't be GT. And that car has a very specific goal.
What organization?
Oh, LTA, ECTA, and both versions of the ECTA. They've got the new this year, new this weekend.
There you go.
ECTA is going to be doing half-mile racing at the old Maxton airport, and super excited for them. But we made the decision. We were actually on the list if we wanted to register to participate, but the circumstances had it. We couldn't get things done as fast as we wanted to, and it did not make sense for us to deviate from the path we're on, and we're not going. We really want to be focused on the half-mile stuff. We really want to try and do some neat things, and I think the Camaro would be the perfect car for that because it'll tie our love for drag racing to a half-mile event, and if we could blister a half-mile 200-mile-an-hour run together, one, it's within our means, and two, it's in our backyard. That's only 450 miles from here, so that really makes a difference. All right, we do want to get to the ECTA events that are in Arkansas, but that's 1,200 miles versus the LTA events, which are 1,000 miles. So, Maxton coming back to life is going to be very, very sweet for us. My first land speed record was there at Maxton. I had the privilege to be the driver of the car that set the very first land speed record for a car in Maine. That is the Studebaker. We did that. And we've done a lot of neat things. We want to get to Bonneville someday, but circumstances will be very different for us to be able to afford that opportunity. That is a tremendous cost investment that we can't afford that at this time. But there's no crying in baseball. We're gonna get to where we can go and be proficient at it.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's you were mentioning classes there? So like you said, modified sport. What is that?
Well, it's basically a car that is allowed a lot of aero modifications from the firewall forward, and from the firewall back it's very minimal modifications, although you are allowed a tail wing. I really like that class. I love some of the odd builds that you see, the big nose, the streamlined look. I like the look of those cars. I like the performance of those cars, and I think what changes we've done to the Datsun really lend itself to having something that could potentially set a blistering number. We tie that to the valve or drivetrain that we want to do, and
the engine platform.
Yep, you've got me very curious.
What?
Your earlier comment.
Oh, well, I figured at some point we would get into discussing working with sponsors and some of the challenges that come from that. But I didn't want to interrupt the.
No, that's a good subject to get into.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're not selling your identity doing it the way that we're doing, but there's also the struggle of working with folks who want you to change your path.
Yeah. So what were your records in previously before we go on that tangent?
Well, my first records were in gas altered. I had the front end closed in and tried to get the air over it. Then, after the first few passes that we made and were able to make adjustments, we actually found a problem with the car, made a change, and picked up, 13 miles an hour. And then identified a problem with the shock package that we had. And believe it or not, you've got to make sure that if you're on a bumpy track, your shocks work. And it's a very different strategy in a land speed car than it is in a drag car. You're not just trying to accelerate, you're trying to maintain that traction and not upset the car. When we got that sorted out, we gained another 12 miles an hour, and so every one of them has been gas altered and gas couped to this point.
Classic gas altered.
Classic,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Yep, carbureted,
So
naturally aspirated.
Yep. It has to be a. Does the engine have to be a particular vintage?
Yeah, it's got to be a traditional engine,
Yeah,
carbureted,
Yep. Carbureted.
and
Body can't be modified, altered. You're allowed a tail wing, right?
yep.
And you're only allowed to put an air dam from, what is it? From the air intake.
The most front portion of the bumper down.
Okay. Yeah. And then air induction can only be from
The grill.
the grill. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't have like a snorkel scoop or whatever. Yeah. Yep. And you did that with a 1954 Studebaker.
Yepper.
Yep. Yeah, so Old Man Tater said, very cool, did not know you had land speed records.
Yep.
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 So, yeah, I think it'll be neat to explore that. The 4200 just so happens to fall just below one of the cubic inch limits of, I guess, one of the rule sets.
Yep.
If you go by the new ECTA, they're doing it by the liter, so it'll be 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter, 4 liter, and so on. So 4.2 would be just above, but with the old rule set, it's 184 to 260, or 183 to 262
is the
or
top,
whatever.
and then
262.99 cubic inches.
260.
Oh, okay.
0.99. Yep.
We're at 254.
We're at 254, so
Yep.
we're well under the top, but
Yep.
close enough to it that we can maximize the
Yep.
performance.
Which, if you follow Jay from RS Garage, he keeps running his 2Js, but he keeps doing stroked 2Js, so he keeps bumping into E, and it's like, darn it, he keeps, those 2JZs are hard to keep up with, especially the ones he puts together. So, that's. I wouldn't say it's disappointing. It's just like, okay, all right. So setting the bar a little high. Okay, I see. So, yeah. All right. Let's hop back to intercooler sizing and placement trade-offs. So, what's your favorite kind of intercooler?
If you can afford to carry the weight, water to air is the best.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't afford the weight, I want to do more exploration of no intercooler, which is what we're doing with the Talon, and work more on the fuel side and its injection point being the intercooling with the vaporization of the fuel. The air-to-air is the lightest, and the sizing should be less than a pound of pressure drop across the core is about the best. By having about 1 psi pressure drop across the core, you're slowing it down enough to transfer the temperature out of the airflow and into the core itself, and not creating that reality by the temperature drop itself. So that sounds like I've just contradicted myself. The true pressure drop is going to be closer to 2 to 1, but the one is airflow and the other is going to be temperature. So Again, I didn't want to be misleading in that statement, but you need to find that balance, that it's just enough pressure drop that you are effectively doing that cooling. But we do a lot of monitoring of the temperature in and out, and yes, you can have too big, but it's worse to have too small. It's better to carry the weight of something too big than it is to create the choke of something too small, because you're pushing too much air to it, and that shows up on the backside on the turbine side, which elevates your discharge pressures, and those discharge pressures create more temperature on the exhaust valve and on the piston. So it is truly a balance. I've got some formulas that I created back in the 80s of cross-sectional area and how big the intercooler should be, and I based that on 0.55 airflow to cross-sectional area for the flow area. I'm going to have to pull that formula out and show it to you. I actually created a whole program to size intercoolers back in
yeah, I think you showed
80s.
it to me once.
Yeah.
So Blaine Bowling 3303 asks, with the 4200, would it be within the rules to de-stroke?
Yes.
Yes.
And
So-
we want to bad.
Yeah, we definitely want
want
to.
to bad.
Yep.
We want to get it all the way down to a 3 liter and take full advantage of the engine. But now with the new ECTA rules, if we got it to a 3.9 liter, we could run their class rules. It just makes the thing make no sense at all for LTA or Bonneville.
I feel like you couldn't, to like offset grind the crank to make it under 4 liters would be, you'd make the crank so weak
Yep.
that it doesn't make sense. Your pin would get so small that the thing would turn into a noodle.
Yeah, you gotta go to an aftermarket
Yeah,
crank.
you pretty much have to either. We were exploring. At one time I was like exploring. Could they weld on the bottom and then regrind the crank that way? Yeah. So that's sort of the challenge there. I've talked to a lot of people that do comp eliminator in the drag racing class comp eliminator with the 4200s, and they talk about. I talked to one guy and he said don't go any smaller than a big block Chevy journal, which is 2.200, and the factory 4200 journal is a 2.232. So you can't really get a whole lot of room there. So yeah, that's kind of the situation there.
Yeah, we definitely want to do it, but the cost of the crank is not something we can endure right at the moment. We're going to have to wait a few years to get that to work out.
Yep. All right, so wastegate sizing and why people get it wrong.
Why people get it wrong? I can't answer that. Well, yeah, I can answer that question. The reason that most people get it wrong is it's counterintuitive. You use a smaller gate with higher pressure, and you use a bigger gate with lower pressure. So most people don't even realize that cross-correlation is just counter to intuition. With the higher pressure, your mass flow can pass through the smaller gate and you get that control. With the lower boost, you don't have the mass flow and you need a bigger gate to control things at the lower speed. And ultimately, you're controlling mass on the backside, on the exhaust side. And when I'm doing this, I'm envisioning like a 6-cylinder sitting here with the turbine housing and the compressor housing to get the mass flow out of the turbine to slow the turbine down. You need the bigger gate for less pressure because you need to get that mass away from it to turn that thing down, because your energy that's being transferred from the turbine to the compressor is different.
Yeah, I would say we definitely have come a long way on that particular subject.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Looking at our original Turbo LS build in the Datsun. I was looking at the pictures of that. Yeah. So we started, we had a G4294 or GT4294 turbo on it. And it came off a tractor trailer.
Yep.
Okay, so it came off a tractor trailer and it had an internal gate, the kind that has the little trapdoor thing. And our very first Turbo LS, we said, well, it already has a wastegate. Just use the internal one. And let's just say that didn't work at all. I believe the very first time I spooled the car up we have video of it, and the first time I put it on the trans brake, I think we had a little pressure gauge on the pipe, and it wrapped the whole way around, and I think it only went to like 15 psi or something, and it went the whole way around just on the trans brake. So so after that, you had a wastegate from back when you had
in the
a turbo
70s.
small block.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that thing was like a 20-something millimeter.
I thought it was a 30.
Okay.
But it was tiny.
It was a tiny wastegate.
Yeah.
And we added that in parallel with the internal gate. And that was actually when we met Matt Happel for the very first time. We went to one of his tuning classes, which, I did want to actually like learn stuff and go to his tuning class, but one of the things I was hoping to get out of that tuning class when we went was I wanted him to, take a look at the car and like maybe get us started on a tune. So we might have had a little bit of, two-part desire there, I guess. However you would say that. We had two motivations there. We dynoed the thing, and it made 15 pounds of boost, and I think that was on wastegate. No bleed valve, because I don't think we even had a boost controller at that point. We didn't even. It was still on a stock computer, and maybe we did have a bleed valve, or maybe we added one.
No, it was the screw in the top of the bonnet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the external gate that Dad had, the 30 millimeter one, had a little screw on the top, but I don't think we screwed anything into it. We were just like 15's enough.
Yeah.
It made 508 horsepower.
Yep.
It was on race gas, which everything we do now these days is on E85. I mean, back in those days, like it was, the flex fuel thing wasn't a thing. Like, people hadn't really figured out that you can run a flex fuel tune on the P01 computer, and be able to run a flex fuel sensor. But you could only do a 2-bar flex fuel with the P01. You needed the P59 to do 3-bar flex fuel. See, I'm really going back into the memory banks. But yeah, we were running a P01 in that car, and then we took it to the track. And while it only went to 15 pounds boost on the dyno, when you actually ran it down the track, it creeped to over 30.
First, second, bang.
Once you got into third gear, that thing would just
boom,
go crazy. So
bent all the rods.
We did not have the injector for 30 pounds of boost in the car. We went lean, and we bent, I think it was 3 rods, which this was Gen 3 rods. Like, this was back in the 14 days, the 14 psi, 14 degrees of timing. That was back in those days of like, we hadn't even, learned that you should ramp the timing with RPM and that kind of stuff. And
fuel control. Oh.
And then after that, we put,
and that was no intercooler too.
Yeah, there was no intercooler, and then we put, was that we had the 6-liter in it when we took it to Matt, but we had
Yeah.
gone through 2 5.3s before that. I think.
on your birthday you
Yeah,
came
'cause
home.
Yeah, we
We
did
put that engine together and it broke the cam or broke the.
How did the
timing
first
chain.
5.3 go? What happened to that one? Because we had one 5.3 in it, and then we had one that broke the timing chain on my birthday.
Yeah.
But the first one, what happened to the first one?
Well, the first one we blew up pretty bad.
Because I know the 6-liter we shortened the rod.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And that's the one that I thought it spun a rod bearing, but it shortened the rod enough that the piston was hitting the counterweight.
Bang,
And,
bang, bang, bang.
yeah,
Pulled
it
it
was-
into the trailer.
yeah.
Bang, 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 bang.
So, yeah.
Looking at each other like, it ran great until third gear.
Yeah. So that was a fun experience. So we've come a long way. I feel like with the wastegate discussion, like, yes, size is very important.
Absolutely critical.
But also placement, I feel like, is very important as well. You need to make sure it has good priority flow, and
Yep.
I would almost say you can't go too big.
Well, the problem with too big with high boost is as soon as the thing starts moving, it drops the boost too much. So you
true.
can go too big for high boost. You need to match them up pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to disagree with that last statement.
I really like the straight gate, the Turbo Smart straight gate that I have on the Camaro.
That works good.
That one's working really, really well. But we've come a long way on that. I took down a trip down memory lane with that whole thing recently, and it was like we had no idea what we were doing. So.
Well, now go back in time to when I first started playing with turbos. Nobody knew what to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk about your first turbo, like your very first turbo project.
My first turbo project would have been 1983 with a Ray J. No, that's the first one that was on a street car.
Okay.
That worked good up until, again, not knowing what to do with wastegates. That one ran like a scalded dog until I hit third gear and I shortened up the connecting rods, and Denny and I looked at each other and it's like, that's not good. Yeah, I had a small Ray J on the Toyota, on a small block 400 in my Toyota pickup truck, and holy mackerel, that thing was fast, but short-lived. But yeah,
So what was your first turbo project?
I was doing a set of twins on a big block and a set of twins on a small block. Those headers are actually up in the barn. And
In what year?
80. I'm gonna say it had to be 84, because 83 I was so broke I couldn't have bought the parts, so it had to be 83, 84 when I started doing that. And the Type T Regals were out, and you could get some of those parts, and I was looking at those and thought I was a big dog with my double E compressor wheel Ray J turbo. Thought I was really going to do something there. And
those are like, what, 50-something millimeter?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I think I measured them at one point. 'cause you still have them
55
for a
is what
long
comes
time.
to mind.
Yeah, it was like a 50-something, yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Why did you why? Because you've told me this. Like, what was the thing that drew you to the turbos?
Air's free.
Mm-hmm.
I was a nitrous guy for quite a while, and I had tried to get into the turbos. The fuel systems were too much of a mess. The nitrous became very popular. 87's when I started getting into the nitrous really heavy. By 88, you could buy decent systems. By 89, you could buy really decent systems. And I was making stuff go pretty... I was going fast enough to hurt parts by that time. but I always wanted to go back to the nitrous. Back from the nitrous back to turbos because I didn't like getting my bottles filled. That drove me nuts because by that time we had learned how sensitive bottle pressures were. Now that was 90. By 90, the bottle pressures became so, you had to pay attention to that, and taking a half full bottle back to get it filled up irritated me to no end. I wanted to get back to the turbos because the air's free.
Consistent. Yeah.
And the fuel systems weren't what they are today. So when your brother was born, I backed away from the whole thing, wanted to get back into it, and then it wasn't until you were going through college that it started to become a reality. You had a real interest in cars, and I always told you, don't do what your old man did because you'll never put food on your table. If you're going to play with cars, get into the new technology and try everything but what your old man does, because by that time I was all small block and all big block all the time, and I knew while I was having fun it would never put food on the table, and that's why I always pushed you to get into the fuel injection. That'll put food on your table.
So I guess that's working out. Huh.
Well, you've come a long way. You've taken our whole program in a direction that I'm very proud of. I am excited about our future, and I'm excited about learning stuff, and it's fun to have you teach me.
Yeah. Let me see if there's any. Okay.
People are really going to figure out how dumb your old man is, aren't they?
Well, hey.
Get my anvil.
Hey, you gotta use what you have. I mean,
yep.
What was like Ray J's? How common were they? Like a Ray J turbo, like
super common.
Most people probably don't even know what a Ray J turbo is.
Well, the OEMs were using them. So turbos were around with Buick, and the turbo mufflers actually came from the Corvair. They developed the turbo muffler to be a free-flowing muffler for the turbo cars, and the Corvairs, the Monzas, that were turbocharged had a Ray J turbo. Well, because they were so reliable, they were able to develop their whole program. So from, I'm going to guess, probably 63 into the 70s, they were one of the more common turbos. Air Research was,
right. Garrett.
It became Garrett. Yeah, they were becoming more popular. But, turbos really took off with Dodge and their program when they started doing the little 2.2s, and that whole program really took things off. And I don't want to sound like I'm discounting the foreign market. The foreign market were putting the turbos in place, but it was more easy to focus on the domestic stuff because I had a genuine love affair with domestic cars.
Yeah, you just you probably didn't know a lot of people that were into the foreign stuff. That was kind of uncommon.
Well, I'm going to go back in the Rolodex, I think the turbo from the Toyotas was a T26. And I was always trying to find pairs of T26s in some of the early stuff, because that's
what would they have come
on? The Supras and that kind of stuff. But that was the late 80s by then. The Air Researchers were coming off of the Buicks in the mid 80s, right. But back in the 60s and 70s, it was the I'm going off memory. Those would all been Ray J's.
Yeah, I didn't know Ray J was like a OEM type thing. I thought it was like a aftermarket.
They were used. They were, and people don't even realize that World War II turbochargers were common.
Right.
And as different companies came and went, you know.
Well, we've had that discussion many times of like people think that there weren't turbo gassers, and
Yep.
there definitely were turbo gassers, and all these modern gasser class rules.
No turbos.
No turbos. So it's, you're only allowed to run a supercharger
because I'm going to beat my chest and drag my knuckles.
Yeah. Old Man Tater says, I'm taking it in. Appreciate just hearing you guys go back and forth. Well, I'm glad you are.
Poor guy squirming over there.
No, I'm fine. So, when you did the Toyota, because I remember Dad had this. It was a Toyota truck.
Yep.
It's not a Tacoma.
No, it was the
Toyota
mini truck.
So like a, what's the indestructible one that they had on Top Gear? The Toyota Patrol?
No.
I don't know. Somebody say it in the comments if you.
It's just a Toyota truck.
Yeah, it was a Toyota truck.
That's it.
So it was like a.
It was a mini truck.
It was the S10, the Toyota version of an S10.
Yes,
basically.
exactly.
And so tell people about that.
Well, I bought that thing for. Oh my gosh!
So I remember that car, or truck.
Yeah, I bought it for like $100. Pulled the 2.2 out of it. Pulled the manual transmission out of it.
Like what, a 22 RE?
Yeah, 22 RE. Yeah, and I put a small block 400 in it and put the turbocharger on it. And I got it so cheap because the entire rear frame was rusted out. And I picked up a set of shortened 9-inch axles for $5 and put together the whole truck for under $1,000. And on my wedding anniversary, my 10-year wedding anniversary with your mom, we went to Cecil, and I got kicked out for going too fast. I went 1149. That was with the 383, so I had already blown the 400 up with that.
Because
that was.
So go back to the turbo.
Okay. That was a Ray J.
Okay, so that was a Ray J. Okay,
Yep.
I thought it was.
Yep.
So you were running like a single 50-something compressor with like a 50-something turbine on a 400 cubic inch small block.
Yeah.
Did you have an intercooler?
Nope.
And you were doing what? Draw through carb?
Yeah. I did a lot of draw-through carb stuff.
Yeah, because I remember seeing a couple of the parts laying around from
we
that.
got them down in the basement still. I got that one that I welded together out of steel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
with the
real
2-3 inch.
looking. Yeah.
That was the twin turbo draw-through.
Okay.
That was on the headers. That's up in the top of the up on the 3rd floor of the barn.
So, yeah, I guess to tell people, so these Ray J turbos, they had a T4 flange. But the entry into the T4 flange wasn't the size of a T4. It was like the size of a T3, maybe even smaller.
Yep.
Like these things were microscopic.
And I didn't even run wastegates on that. The turbo was so small.
I would have loved to know what the back pressure was on that. Because it had to be like...
I don't know.
6 to 1 or something.
No, it couldn't have been that bad. I never blew a header gasket or anything. But I bet it was 2 to 1 because as fast as your foot went to the floor, the boost was there.
So it was a 400 cubic inch small block.
Yeah.
And was it stock or was it?
Yeah.
You know,
like right from the junkyard.
Iron
stock.
heads, like.
Yep, iron heads.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you did a draw through carb.
Yep.
And then what? You had like some sort of flange on top of the intake that went to a tube.
Yep.
Like. What did that look like? Was it a stock intake or like a Edelbrock?
No,
or
it was a torquer.
Okay. So like a dual plane?
No, single plane.
Okay.
Torquer. Because I wanted to keep everything down low. And I couldn't, and that's when I made that hood scoop that looked like the Dodge Super Stock hood. Okay. The 6-pack scoop hood.
I remember that.
Yeah, I made that out of a 69 Chevy Impala hood. And I used the I turned it around and I just turned everything down and I welded it to the Toyota hood, and that's where that came from.
So that made what, one trip around the block and then it blew up, or
No, I had that together for probably 2 summers.
Okay.
But didn't. It wasn't until I started leaning on things. I was just doing first gear, second gear stuff. Then the next summer came along, and then I started getting a little more frisky.
Now what would you have for transmission?
400.
Okay.
Yeah.
What gear ratio?
In the rear?
Yeah.
389. 389.
Was that the set that went into the Fiat?
Might have been.
I remember that one had a 3.
No, I sold it. I sold that rear with the car
With
to
the
Doug.
truck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, when I put the 383 in, I did the fender well headers, and then the thing had sat for a while. Then Mom and I went on our 10th wedding anniversary down to Cecil, and they kicked me out for going low 11s. And at that time, that was right after they had changed the. No, it was still 12.0 for the roll bar roll, and we went 1140 whatever, and they were like.
So you had the turbo in it, and then how did the engine break?
Denny and I were down there, and I wanted to give him a ride, and I went in the third gear, and I sailed the connecting rods right out of it.
Did it like window the block?
Oh,
or
it just
okay.
it was a maraca.
Like hole in the oil pan, or like coolant?
No, dents. You could see.
Oh, dents.
Oh yeah, it was. Did
it lock up?
No, it stayed running. And we looked at each other. That ain't good. And I turned it off, and we coasted off to the side of the road in the brickyard. And then had to walk home from there, and we were just laughing, just hysterically. Then he kept. That doesn't sound good. He was mocking me the whole way back to the house.
And that was what, a 2-bolt? Probably 2-bolt main?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we turned that thing into garbage. But that it probably had too much timing in it. I bet it probably took the piston out, not the connecting rod. But once you take the piston out, you take the connecting rod. But after all the failures that we've done recently, and everything I've seen with piston failures associated with turbo stuff, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, because like you wouldn't have had any like data logging back then. Like you,
I had the seat of my pants.
Right, but like you don't have like an AFR gauge. Like that wasn't even a thing.
No, I fart pretty good.
So what? You just like, how did you tune it?
Ear.
And like what? Look at the spark plugs, or
look at the spark plugs, seat of the pants. Okay.
So you just like jet the carburetor for like.
It was draw through. It was going to get plenty in there.
Goldish hue to the plug, and it's good.
Yep. Huh. Put enough timing into it to go fast. If it rattled, you backed it off.
Did you like start at a lower timing and work your way up, or did you just like 36 is good?
I think this will work. You're not going to break stuff if you're spinning tires. It's once you grab traction that you start pulling the RPMs down, you're going to start sailing rods out of it.
Yeah. So then you blew that up, and then you put a 383 in it.
Yeah.
So what? A 383, they never made a 383, right?
No.
For like a factory car.
No.
So that was like forged rods, forged pistons?
Yeah, factory rods.
Okay.
Set of LT1 pistons that had the top cut off of them. And a 400 crank with the mains ground down.
400 crank.
Yeah.
The mains ground down.
Yeah, because the 400 has a 2.65 journal, and the 350 is 2.45.
Because the 400 has a 4125 bore.
Yeah.
So it's basically a 350 block with a 400 crank, and that makes a 3. Okay.
Yeah, 30 over, but yeah.
I didn't realize that's so it's a 3.75 stroke on that, right?
Yep.
I didn't realize the 400 had that 3.75 stroke.
Yep.
I always thought it was a 4-inch for some
No,
reason.
that's the engine we got outside.
Mm.
That's a 436.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you put a 383 in it.
Yep.
Did you have balanced? Like, or did you just like, okay, all right. I mean, you know.
I had aluminum heads on it.
Did you weigh anything, or did you just slap it together?
I got that from somebody who had originally had it put together, and they heard it, and I got the hurt parts and put it with other hurt parts. I took two broken engines and put it together, so nothing was scaled together. Wow, I forgot about that. I got that right across the river. It was junk.
And then you did fender well headers.
Yep.
And then you went.
I gotta tell the story on the crankshaft.
Okay.
I got the crankshaft from a guy out of Strasbourg, and it had cracks all around the thrust bearing flange. And the guy was scared of it, and I looked at it and I was like, there's nothing wrong with that thing except for the thrust has cracks in it. So I took that crank, which was turned 30 thousandths undersized on the connecting rod journal.
Wow.
And 20 under on the main, because he had heard it before, cut it, heard it again, and I picked up his junk parts, and then I picked up a blown up engine from Colombia, and then put the two together, and then I had a set. Oh my gosh, this thing was junk. I got a set of L98 heads, and Ben ported the dickens out of those, and then a real small roller cam. Where did that come from? Oh, that came from Chet Herbert, and I picked the second smallest roller cam that they had, and it was supposed to be a hydraulic roller, and I put solid
So it was an
rollers on
aftermarket
it.
cam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you could buy them for like $79, $80, something like that back at that time. Oh, it was crazy how cheap that engine was. It ran good.
So it was 30 under. So for people that don't know, if you have a crankshaft that's hurt, when he says 30 under, that means you hurt the bearing surface and it now has grooves in it. So you grind it smaller, and then they make bearings that are extra thick to compensate for it. And 30 under is like as low, that's as small as you can make the journal. They don't make anything smaller than that because at some point you got to throw the crankshaft away. So the fact that he was 20 under on the mains and 30 under on the rod, like that's that crank was
It was
well
junk.
used. Yeah.
Yeah. With cracks.
Yeah. So I forget what I was going to say.
Then we moved here
Yeah.
and used to give people rides in that thing.
Yep.
That thing would scare people.
How much power do you think it made?
Yeah, probably 500 horse
Hmm.
at the most. The cylinder head, it couldn't have been that high. It was probably 470, 480.
Were they what? You said what cylinder heads? What?
L98.
So they were aluminum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were aluminum.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was a factory head that was ported out a lot.
Significantly ported out. Yep. Yeah, pretty much as far as you could take it.
And then what? Did you use the same torquer intake? And
Yeah.
Okay. And then what? The fender well headers were
Fender
probably
well
what?
headers.
Inch and 3/4.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one because you used to sit up in the barn.
Yep.
And it was green.
It was
right?
green. Yep.
And then you had a tan one too, right?
No, I sold it to Doug and he painted it tan.
Oh, that's why. I always remember it being green and then tan.
Yep.
And, yeah. Okay.
All right. Next question.
Yeah.
We're boring the crowd here.
Hilux. Yes, Hilux. Thank you.
What's that?
So the Top Gear did a whole series on a Toyota Hilux, and they like did all these horrible things to the
Oh my
the
goodness.
truck, And I'm pretty sure it probably was the same style of truck, but they probably didn't call it a Hilux in the U.S. And like they'd like do all these horrible things to it, and then they'd fire it up and drive it and keep driving the thing. Like they like chained it to like a cement block and let the waves from the ocean rush over the thing, and like left it there for like a couple days or something, and then the last scene of the thing is them firing the thing up and driving it into the showroom with like the roof is like caved in. And
so it's
destroyed.
like what people used to do with 283s.
Yeah.
They'd fire them up, put a brick on the throttle, and walk away. Come back half an hour later, and the thing still be turning 8,000 RPM.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that got tortured more than a 283 Chevy engine.
Yep. So Blaine Bowling says, I was coming of age in the 70s. My uncle started my love affair of big blocks by nailing me to the back of his 66 SS Chevelle. Bigger was better. There you go.
True.
And Old Man Tater says, butt dyno. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. The butt dyno worked good once upon a time.
Yep. Blaine Bowling says, after getting a bit bored with going straight, I wanted to build a street-legal go-kart, so I looked into turbocharging an all-aluminum small-block Chevy. Everything I read at the time said that turbos weren't realistic because the constant threat of bearing failure. Sounds like that wasn't true from what you're saying. Bearing failure.
Well, I don't know what to say there. Bearings are always going to be the same. If your clearance is too tight, everybody knows. If it's too loose, nobody knows. It's, you got to have bearing clearance. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about earlier. Like, did you have plastic gauge back then?
Oh, absolutely.
And did you check like bearing
Absolutely.
clearances? Okay.
Oh yeah, yes.
I was just curious, did they have plastic gauge back then?
That 400 miles of stuff that used to be out in the barn. Yeah, that was all left over from once upon a time.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I would say the only real risk of like a bearing failure would be like getting the oil too hot and then, having issues there.
I think every new technology goes through growing pains where everybody is, ooh, you're going to blow it up.
Right.
Nitrous, the early years of nitrous, everybody blew an engine up.
Well, like the LS, when they thought that they were made of glass, they thought that, they would only take 400 horsepower, and now people are making over 1,000, so.
Yep.
Yeah, but, all right.
Any new questions?
Yeah, I think we're up to date on them.
Okay.
We're almost to 2 hours here, I think.
You gotta be kidding.
Yeah, it's almost 9, so I don't know how long we want to make these, but...
well, let's see if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them now. I'll grab a couple more off my list here.
And we truly appreciate you listening to us bumble through our very first one. This was a surprise when I came home.
When to port match and when it doesn't matter.
Well, I think it always matters, but you got to port match it like it's shingled. The head needs to be bigger than the intake by a small margin. But any gains that you gain, what you want to do is you want to make sure you minimize how often you change the shape, because shape changes of your cross-sectional area cost more horsepower than anything.
Yeah, I've been, obviously getting obvious obstructions out of the way, that has value, but I feel like some people seem to just make the port big, and I feel like that has more of a hindrance than anything.
Well, too big a port slows the velocity down, and it puts the airflow in the wrong place, so that's as much of a problem as anything. But as far as port matching, I'll stick with what I said earlier. A shape change is detrimental.
All right. Cam selection for forced induction versus NA.
I like smaller cams.
Yeah, I think the more we do stuff, the more we're finding that the factory cams.
They perform better than people realize.
Yeah, going back to our turbo sizing discussion, like I almost would love to try a build with stock 4200 cams to see how far we could get with them. And, because it's going to spool better. So, when you go to a bigger camshaft, what you're doing is you're increasing lift and you're increasing duration. And by doing that, you're taking your torque curve and you're going to move it up in the RPM range. And that means it's going to make less down low and more up top. But with a turbo, you can do stuff with your boost curve to supplement that if you need to. And, running a large turbo, you kind of have to fight with getting the thing spooled up. So
yeah, big cam, big power. But you can also make big power with big boost.
Right.
So we're focused more on the boost today and less on the cam, whereas before we were focused on the cam and reduced boost. So, we've come to a different place, and that place works for us. But stock cam 4200 build, that's your trailblazer.
Yeah, and it seems to come up good.
That's a fun vehicle.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with my Camaro.
You better be 166 miles an hour.
But there's parts of me that's like, what if we went with a stock cam?
We got the big cams.
Yeah.
At some point, we got to try all that out because you could be in the 7s with less boost.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
They can't read your mind.
Well, I just went through a whole...
Yeah, you did. I could hear the...
Yeah, gears are grinding. All right. So, I haven't seen any comments. Old Man Tater says he's got to run. Thanks for tuning in. I'll have to give you guys a little more heads up for the next time that we do one of these. But I think this might be where we end this one off.
Are you thinking weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? What's your thoughts here?
I mean, I'd love to get into a weekly cadence, but I also, there's only so many of the basic, these questions I've been asking about, intercooler sizing. Eventually we're going to run out of them, so, we may have to, I'm sure as time goes on, we might start talking about, stuff that's happening in our lives, and... let's talk about the most recent race event that we went to, or that kind of thing.
That would be fun.
So that's kind of my goal with these.
We could have a whole session talking about sick week. There's only so much that you could convey on that on the videos, but holy mackerel, that was an event and a half.
Yeah, and maybe
but that's future.
Yeah, for future podcasts, maybe just talking about old race stories, the bugs and stuff like that.
Making the record pass with hot welds in the car.
Yeah,
that
stuff
was cool.
like that. I feel like we could talk. So, I guess weekly is what I'm hoping for, but
yeah, I travel so much it'll be a challenge. We may have to pick a different day.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So, leave comments. Let Calvin know what you're thinking would work.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That's the conclusion of the very first Living Lake podcast. I didn't even tell you guys why I probably should have started the podcast off. Okay, the reason I chose the Living Late podcast for the name of the podcast was because I wanted to do a play off of LL8, which is the engine code for the Vortec 4200, because it's kind of like what got the channel started. And we're also doing, on the channel, we do a lot of projects where we're using an engine platform that's a little late to the party, so it's not that we're like living late, like, we're, late to the party. Like,
no,
I
it's
feel
past my bedtime, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm the kind of person that I'm constantly up late, editing videos and working and that kind of stuff. So that also fits my personality, at least. But I feel like we celebrate the engines that are late to the party is kind of the thought process there. Maybe it's a dumb name, but I just wanted to do an LL8, play off of that. So, yeah, cool.
No, you're not a dork.
Okay. All right. I think that's where we're going to end this. Well, I see there's one or two more comments, but let me just make sure there were no last-minute questions. For your next one, give us a bit of heads up so we can compile some questions. Yeah. I'll do that.
Yep. There's another one coming. Start your question generation process.
Yep. Cool. All right. See you guys.
Good night.